Significant.
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 Welcome to Significant Life, the podcast for women who want to live, lead, and serve from an anchored place. I'm your host, Janice Anderson, wife, mother of three, CEO, and lover of all things Jesus. I firmly believe that strong women need an even stronger support system. So whether you need to get it done or come undone, this is a place where you can do it all without second guessing who you are, disconnecting from those you love, or undervaluing your irreplaceable contribution to the world. Regardless of what you're facing, this I know for sure. You were created to live and enjoy a significant life. Let's dive into today's episode. Hey. Welcome back to another episode of the Significant Life podcast. I'm your host, Janice Anderson. And let me tell you something. I have been super excited about this new series that we started in episode 11 on rest. So if you haven't checked out episode 11, go ahead and check out episode 11. I have been really excited about it, but can I be honest? This topic, while it's very important and is critical to, I think, the season that we're in right now, that we embrace this idea of rest, it is one that is so fiercely opposed. The idea of rest, the concept of rest, what it means, and then how to practice it is so opposed. When I tell you, when having this conversation with the people in our life and in my life, the conflict that happens, I'm watching conflict unfold as I just bring up the word rest. So if you, in listening to episode 11, found that, man, Janice, that was so good and I'm so challenged, then you're in the right place. You're in the right place. So here's what I want to say. So as we get ready to dive into today's episode on rest, I want to invite you to consider a different perspective. You ready? I want you to consider a perspective that is not commonly popular. It's not something that I've ever heard expressed in the spaces that I'm in, and is not something that we often just sit and think about and really kind of process through, but it is definitely, it's a guiding perspective that we don't say out loud. I'll say it like that, right? So this perspective that I'm going to say is contrary to a perspective that we have is a guiding perspective. And what exactly is that? I want you to know that rest is not a reward. Rest is not a reward. It's your responsibility. So on today's episode, I want to unpack what I mean, because if you are like me and my friend who I just shared it with yesterday, I was talking and we were having a coaching call actually. And I was like, yeah, I'm so excited about this podcast that I'm going to record. It's this, I'm in the middle of this series and I can't wait to dive into this next episode of this series. And I said, yeah, it's called Rest is Not a Reward. It's your responsibility. And he gasped. And he was like, oh. And so if it hit you like it hit me and it hit my friend, then hold on, sister, it's going to get good. Okay. So let me just talk to you about how I came up with this idea and what really sparked this notion that rest is not a reward, it's my responsibility. So I have a ritual, it's a practice that whenever I pour out, whenever I speak, whenever I train, whenever I lead workshops, then I give myself permission to make space to recover. So what that looks like for me is I may be performing a workshop, whether it's virtual or in person, or maybe I'm traveling to speak somewhere. I was brought in as a facilitator or presenter, and sometimes to be the minister of the day. And then what I'd like to do is a way of just maintaining my peace and kind of like coming off of the experience, then I build in space for me to recover. And I started this practice actually accidentally as a single mom. When I was a single mom, just after the fire, for those of you who are new to me, I call my previous marriage the fire. So just after the fire, I had begun to travel a little more extensively and for my business. So as a mom and a CEO who speaking was the primary way that I built my business, it's the primary way that I serve my clients. One of the primary ways that I got clients to serve on a deeper level was through speaking. Then I had travel built into my schedule. And so traveling, to go and speak, it's a whole thing. Okay. It's a whole thing. And so I would travel, I would pour out, and then I would get ready to come back home. And when I got home, my kids missed me. So I had 2 girls at the time. And so they would be excited to see their mom, like, oh, mommy. Y'all know, all the parents out there, what be happening. Okay. So they're like, mommy. They want to hug me. They want to tell me all about their day at school, all about their weekend, all about their friends, all about stuff they've already told me 17 times. And I'd be so tired because I just came from pouring out. And they didn't understand that mommy just came from pouring out. She needs a minute. They're thinking, I miss my mom. I want to talk to my mom. And in the back of my head, although I mustered up enough strength at the time, and I think I did a decent job in the moment, but can I be honest? At the time, I was like, my goodness, could they just go to bed? When is the night going to be over? Okay, y'all, give me a minute. And I didn't like that feeling. I didn't like feeling like my children were inconveniencing me, like my children are a burden. Wait a minute. Janice, you felt like your children were a burden? Yes, I did. That's your responsibility. You're a mom. I know. And it just felt like I just needed a minute. I just needed to catch my breath. But it wasn't really fair to them because I had been gone all of this time. So that they were at an age that they heard me, but I don't know that they fully understood me when I said, mommy just needs a minute. Mommy just needs a minute. So what I did was I started building in time. So what that looks like for me is whenever I got ready to speak, then I would build in a day on the back end or a half day on the back end for me to recover before I got the kids. So the kids are normally at their godparents' house when I was away or with their dad. And so when I would if I had to speak on Friday, let's just do it Thursday. If I had to speak on Thursday, I spoke on Thursday. I didn't come home on Thursday night. I'd come home Friday night or early Saturday morning to give myself the time to recover. If I went to a workshop, I'd build a day at the end of the workshop or end of the conference just to breathe, review my notes, and decide my next move. Do you do that? Do you just kind of say, okay, I'm about to go. I'm learning all this stuff. I'm so excited. I need a minute though, just to figure out what my next move is going to be. Or do you jump right in and jump right out? I realized jumping right in and jumping right out, I need some cool down time. I need to jump in the pool, get out the pool, get the shot, go take the shower, to rinse the chlorine off of me from the pool, change my clothes, dry off, all the things before I enter back into my world that once was. Okay, so imagine the same thing with the swimming is what I used to do, and I still do when I speak. Because here's can I just break it down to you? I want to tell you why. Number one, if you're a speaker and you train or you're a preacher, the adrenaline that's required and the adrenaline that you feel, the fuel that comes just from presenting is completely unparalleled. Okay. And so that's one thing. You got this adrenaline that is in the moment. And so you want to just kind of bring your body cool down from that. But then also speaking, facilitating, leading workshops, it's always more than a moment. It is always more than the moment. It's more than the fact that I'm on the microphone right now. It's so much more than a moment. You got to talk for an hour. So I teach my clients, or at least I used to teach them this. Whenever you're talking for an hour, go ahead and book in 4 hours of prep time, because you want to make sure you want to get your notes together. And I'm a communication major, so check your facial expressions. Then there's the travel, and that's a whole thing. That's a whole thing. And if you're not traveling, because, we're in, pre-COVID, post-COVID, all the things, all the things, times change. So we are doing a lot of things on Zoom. So you got to check your equipment, check your lighting, do all the things. Then for us ladies, we got hair and makeup and an outfit, and all of that cost, not just finances, but it costs in time. The shine, removing the shine, making sure your brows are right. Anybody listening? Because, I done did these brows a couple of times today. For those of you who are watching the video version, I've been like, okay. And even if it's just audio, it's still prep. It's more than just a moment. And then for those of us who we are committed to providing a transformative work, we're carrying the weight of the room. And we're scanning the faces, we're feeling the hearts and the spirits and really what is going on with the people that we are connecting with from this opportunity to teach. It's a whole thing. So it's a lot that goes into it that's more than just the moment. Not to mention the mental chatter. Am I speaking well? Is this going to be enough? Will they get something out of this? Will it land? What's the right examples? Oh my goodness, am I talking too fast? Oh, I forgot what I was going to say next. Y'all, literally, that doesn't just happen to me when I'm going away to speak or when I'm presenting for my clients or when I'm hosting a 3-day event. That happens even when I'm getting ready for the podcast. Like, it's a whole thing. And so when I'm done, for me, I feel like that I'm bringing all of that to my daughters, all of that to my family, all of that to whatever the next experience is, unless I build in a buffer. I build in a buffer day is preferably what I like, or at least some buffer time. And so that was my whole ritual. I'm going to add a day on the back end, at least a half a day for me to recover before I get my kids back or before I go home, because, I want to go home refreshed or as refreshed as I can be given the circumstances. And it was all good. And I was so proud of myself. And I'm glad, I was able to recognize I don't like this feeling I have as a mom. I want to do something about it. And I was talking it over with a trusted voice in my life. And then their response let me know that my process was being judged. I was being judged. And here's how it happened. I was sharing that, I shared, it's like, they responded like, oh, okay. I was just sharing because I need to take a minute before I get back because, I need a break. And so then later in future conversations, it came up because, you do the most. You need a break and all that because regular people don't need all that. They just keep on doing what they got to do. So I'm just going to do what I'm doing and come on home because I got to. And I was like, what? And I was judged. I looked up the word judge just to make sure that's the word I wanted to use as I was describing this story, because that's what I felt like. And it actually was. To judge means to have an opinion, to share, to form an opinion or a conclusion about. And that's what I felt. I felt like an opinion and a conclusion was formed about me by a trusted voice in my life, because I thought and I decided that in order for me to show up well, I needed to rest. I needed a buffer day. So here, I had this practice that was working for me, this ritual that I enjoyed. It served me and it served my family well, but I second guessed it. And can I be honest? I almost abandoned it because it was judged by a trusted voice in my life. What rest rituals, what practices for rest, or what perspectives do you have about rest have you allowed to be shaped negatively by voices in your life? What tools have you implemented, or what perspectives have you considered that would make things better for you, but you said, wait a minute, I don't know, because that might be too much. What would they think about me if I do that? How have you abandoned or even second guessed taking care of yourself, doing what you know is best for you to show up well, because you felt like, who am I to do this? And if you're honest, it was shaped by someone else's perspective. So let's go back to the purpose of today's podcast. And our major focus is that you walk away knowing this: rest, it's not a reward. It's not your reward for working hard. It's not your reward for showing up well. You do good work, you get to rest. No. We're going to challenge that perspective today. Rest is your responsibility. And here is how and why I believe is so. So number one, rest is my responsibility, because in order for me to show up well, I actually have to be well. In 3 John 2, John says, "Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health as your soul prospers." How in the world can your soul prosper? How can you be in health if you're not intentional about your health, if you're not intentional about what it takes to cultivate health? I'm just asking. The second thing I realized when it comes to resting, as seeing rest as my responsibility, is I realized that my scattered senses, me being all over the place, can't offer stability and safety to the spaces and places where I'm designed to show up and provide those things. If my mind is scattered, if I am anxious, if I am frazzled, I can't be a place of stability. I can't be a place of safety as much as I want to. I know that I can't. If I'm scattered, if I'm fragmented, the best they're getting, whoever it is, they is my husband, my daughters, my clients, the best they're getting is a peace. And it probably ain't even the best peace. And so I want to be intentional to protect me being stable and me being mentally sound. That's why rest is my responsibility. It is my responsibility. It's not my friends, my husband, my clients, my children. It's not their responsibility. It's not even God's responsibility. It's my responsibility. And here's the other thing I realize about rest. My need for rest and my responsibility for rest is my choice. And it's up to me to honor that. And it's not something that requires an opinion or approval from those around me. Can I tell you this one more time? Rest is your responsibility. Your rest is your responsibility. And it doesn't require an opinion or approval of those around you. Now, I can hear some of you saying, like me, well, Janice, if I'm going to rest, then who's going to handle this? And so I need to at least get everybody together and make sure they know this, and this can happen in order for me to rest. However you choose to take rest may require some coordinating of the logistics so that things are okay while you take a minute. I get that. I had to, when I would travel, I had to make sure it was okay with the godparents that they knew I was going to be gone for this day to this day. Like I often rest right now. Like it's a natural part of how I do life. And so when I am taking some time, I just share with my husband, hey, I'm going to be taking a nap for the next 2 hours. Can you make sure you handle the girls? I don't need his approval to rest. I may need his partnership to handle everything else, but I'm not looking for his approval. Instead, I'm looking for his support. So you may want support, but you don't need approval. Number one, rest is your responsibility, yours, and you don't need approval. You may need support, but you don't need approval. Second thing I want to share about this idea that rest is not a reward, but it is my responsibility is this. When I choose to rest replenishes me. It is hitting the reset button on my body and my mind. Literally, I'm not making this up. Like, I know it sounds good and it's like, oh yeah, reset. No, it literally is happening. So there's this thing, I was doing my research, y'all, and there is this idea, this concept called the, let me see, I'm gonna make sure I say it right. There is this parasympathetic nervous system. So we have a sympathetic nervous system and a parasympathetic nervous system. Like, I have a whole chart here. So it's like, Janice, where's your chart? Doggone it. And what our body, it is built, y'all ready? To thrive in short sprints so that these two systems can reset and activate, right? So when we rest, when we slow down, when we go to sleep, our parasympathetic nervous system, the part of our body that functions only when we're at rest, it activates. So what do you mean? So what does this parasympathetic part of our body do? It's the part of our body that is the digestion, metabolism. It helps us to relax. What? Like, there's this whole thing called rest and digest. So you have food actually digests when you're sleeping, when your body is at rest. Like, your systems flow. It's like they reset. And so when I don't rest, hello, let me just ask you this right here. Do you have any digestive issues? Are you struggling with liver functioning? Is your skin all over the place? Oh, let's just deal with this one right here that we all love to talk about, our metabolism. Do you feel like your metabolism has slowed down and you need like a boost in that metabolism? Yeah, rest. Mm-hmm. It does that. I know my research was showing me that it actually contributes, us resting contributes to our body's ability to reset itself and function at high capacity, at optimal capacity. The last thing I realize about rest and replenishing me is I know when I'm not rested because I'm snappy. Mm-hmm. Anybody out there, they have a little bit of attitude when they didn't get no rest? Mm-hmm. I'm also not as creative. You ever said to yourself, someone asks you, I do this. My husband does this all the time. I don't do it as much. But he'll say, let me sleep on it. It's something that really happens when you sleep on something. When you sleep, your mind relaxes. It didn't forget it. It puts it in perspective in line with all the other things. Your creativity, you're able to be more creative. You're able to have more genius ideas. One of the things that we talked about, and science actually proves this, is when we're studying or when we're preparing or when we're consuming content, like you're listening to this podcast, right? For example, if this was a training and I was teaching you, I would say, listen first to this training all the way through. Take no notes, only listen. Sleep on it. Then tomorrow, 24 hours later, listen again and take notes, whatever notes you want to have. What happens is you will be surprised at how your body processes the information, sorts the information, digests the information, makes sense of the information, organizes the information so that it can be of optimal use to you. But when you feel like I got to do it all right now, all in this sitting, you do yourself a disservice. And whatever the outcome you're desiring to have from this training experience or from this information gathering experience, you're only getting a fragment. You're only going to retain less than 10% of what you heard on the first try. But just by merely sleeping on it, you increase your retention of that information by 30 to 50%. Science proves that. I'm not making that up. So if you want to be more creative, get some rest. Rest replenishes, refuels, and it brings my body to a place of reset and healing. Okay, so they're making a case for rest. So rest is what? It's not a reward. It's my responsibility. Yeah, it's not a reward for doing well. It's my responsibility because I want to be well and show up well. The last thing I'm going to share with you as we close out today's episode on rest not being a responsibility, not being a reward, but our responsibility, is this. Rest is a gift. And let me tell you, this idea of rest, I've been studying extensively for a while now, and I've been looking at it in the context of Scripture and of my faith. And in Scripture, one way we talk about rest is the Sabbath. And I want to talk to you about this idea. I want to leave you with this. Rest is a gift. Yeah, it was a gift from a very loving Father. God, in all his majesty and his all-knowingness, his omnipotence, his omniscience, in his wisdom, and in his generosity and compassion, what he gave us was this gift of rest wrapped up in a bow called Sabbath. After 6 days of creating, bringing the whole world into existence, he offered us this gift, this time to stop, to breathe, to cease from working, and to enjoy and feast. That's what a Sabbath is. It's like a ceased from all the labor, ceased from all the creation, ceased from all the grinding, and just enjoy. Just enjoy the presence, his presence. Enjoy the fruit of what you've created. Enjoy the fruit of what he created. It is a literal gift. And it is a gift that many of us don't treasure. It's a gift that many of us mishandle. It's a gift that we don't quite know what to do with, but it's a gift nonetheless. And so I want to ask you this as we end today's episode. When you reflect on this idea of replenishing, this idea of settling yourself and allowing a reset, this idea of embracing a precious gift that requires nothing from you but just being, when you consider that idea, how does that make you feel? For some of you, literally, you have a visceral reaction. You're having a reaction is very strong, and you're like, Janice, this is too much. You're asking too much of me. For some of you, it's like, oh, that's good. I wish I could do that. And for others of you, it's like, girl, so glad you said it because I was doing it anyway. How does it make you feel? And for those who are struggling with this idea, for those who are really wanting to know, how am I going to add this in with all that I have going on? How am I going to add this in? My question to you is simply this. What's at stake? What's at stake? What's at stake when you choose to rest? What's at stake? And when you choose to keep going and not rest, what's at stake? That's the question. What's at stake? Because there's a reason that some of us keep on going like we're the Energizer Bunny. There's a reason. There's something that we're telling ourselves. There's something that we believe. Maybe you had a conversation that was like the conversation I had with a trusted voice in my life that caused me to second guess my need to rest, my desire to rest, my responsibility to rest. Like, this is my gift to me. This is my gift to my family. This is God's gift to me. And I plan on enjoying every last bit of it. But I ain't gonna lie. My fear of being judged almost made your girl keep going. I married a man that is highly driven and he's always moving. And in our marriage, especially in the beginning, I was nervous. I felt like his constant going made me feel like, are you lazy? And I know I'm not lazy. I've never been characterized as lazy. I don't show up as lazy. I work really hard, but rest is also important to me. And I was trying, at one point in our marriage, I was feeling like maybe there's something wrong with me. And so I was trying to offset his busyness. And then I realized, why am I doing that? I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. You know why I'm not doing that? Because I don't know why he's doing that. But I'm going to honor his design, and I'm going to honor my design. And the way that I'm designed, I do well, I do better, I perform and show up at my best when I'm rested. Because I can tell you what's at stake for me. When I don't rest, I can't hear. When I don't rest, I can't see. When I don't rest, I don't have the patience needed to navigate the nuances of my life. God has called me to hear his voice and to see for my family and for me. Like I am called to be a watchman, and I can't see. I cannot see. I can't see with my spiritual eyes if I'm so busy and I'm exhausted. I just can't. I know my perception is distorted by the weariness of my body when I choose not to rest. So for me, rest is my responsibility. That's the only way that I can show up as the woman God designed me to be, for me, for the kingdom, and for the people in my life that he's called me to serve. So my question to you is, what's at stake? What's at stake? I pray that as you're listening to this series, something in you is challenged to lean in to trusting God. I pray that something in you is challenged to realize that in order for you to live a life that's sustainable, you have to build in rest rituals. Like it has to be a normal part of your existence, not a reward. I pray that you abandon the idea, reject the notion that rest is a reward, and accept that rest is my responsibility. Rest is a gift that I intend on enjoying. Rest is a portion of my life, and it's a natural part of my life that I plan on living and enjoying, because baby, it's a gift. It's what I was created for rest. Yeah, that's a natural part of my existence. So I pray that's how you see rest, this idea and this concept of rest. And I'll see you next week when we're going to look at what are some of the rituals, what are some of the ways that we can practice rest as a daily lifestyle, like as a natural part of how we exist. How do we do that? So tune in. Wherever you're listening or watching this podcast, I can't wait to discuss rest as a lifestyle. We're going to end this particular series next week with rest as a lifestyle. Again, thank you so much for your time. I hope this has been a blessing. I'm committed to rest because I'm committed to living and enjoying my significant life journey. I can't wait to see the commitment that you're going to make to yourself concerning this area of life. Next time on our podcast, we're going to talk about rest as a lifestyle. I'm going to share with you some practical practices. I call them rituals, and I'm only calling them rituals because they're routines for me, that you can put in place. I'm going to give you several to choose from that can help you to incorporate rest as a lifestyle. And if you know that that this is what you need, like, girl, I need this, then here's what I want you to do. DM me, send me a message. I'm on Instagram at @mysignificantlife. Follow me. Or if you're watching on any platform, just leave a comment in the platform that you're watching on or listening on. I want to know how this is landing for you. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and thanks for listening to this podcast.